couldn't listen to this podcast without the events of January 6th, 2021 at the U.S. Capitol in the front of my mind. Sitting members of Congress aiding and abetting a plot to overthrow the U.S. government. Ernest Lunding, a U.S. Senator from Minnesota, along with 3 members of the Justice Department, killed in a mysterious plane crash. A paid German agent of the Hitler government writing speeches for the senator and others in Congress, which they read verbatim on the Senate floor, saying American democracy is corrupt and rigged. Once in the congressional records, the fracking privilege was triggered, which meant that this material could be mailed in prepaid government envelopes to all of the constituency for free, using the United States Postal Service. A German agent sends a pro-German propaganda, all on the taxpayers' dime, to unexpected American homes. As one historian said, bold. The secret Nazi agent colluded with over 20 sitting members of Congress, congressmen associated with Americans First Committee and the Christian Front. Sounds familiar. As the series unfolds, prosecutors launch a desperate effort to peel back the layers of the threats, identify those involved, all of it culminating in what would become the great Sedition trial of 1944. The single largest mass sedition trial the United States government has ever prosecuted, a trial that would ultimately fail spectacularly. What did the Germans want? They wanted the United States not to enter World War II, and so they wanted to make us distrust and dislike our allies, particularly Britain. They wanted Americans to think that Hitler's Germany was strong and that it wouldn't be so bad if Germany won. It's an incredible tale, a gripping story, and one that we should all know. I'm very pleased to welcome Rachel, Michael, and Kelsey to the stage now to accept this prize.
Woo! Woo-hoo! You don't get to do that on TV, but that's always what I want to do. Wow. On behalf of myself and Mike and Kelsey, and also Corey and Laura and Jamaris and Bryson and Tarek and Will and everybody else who made this possible, we're just very, very thankful to the Hillman Prize and the Hillman Foundation for this honor. The history of this prize, the company in this room, is very, very humbling. I would also like to say, and I hope you don't think this is weird, but I would like to thank NBC for allowing us to do this work as part of our jobs. The president of NBC News is here tonight, Cesar Conde, and I want to acknowledge him in particular. And the reason I say that is because for all of us who are in the news business, who want to spend really long hours and weeks and months working on stories that are not obvious winners. Stories where you really can't tell in advance that there is a likelihood of clicks and the likelihood of commercial success, whether it is a story on hospice care, or it is a story on small town policing, or on decades of unpunished murders, or indeed the Great Sedition trial of 1944. I think all of us are deeply cognizant of the fact that it takes trust and a certain tolerance for risk on the part of our employers to let us chase these things. And that's hard, no matter what part of the business you're in. So I feel thankful for the freedom to do this. And of course, all of us, I think we do everything we can to try to earn that trust and reward that trust, but we also know how fortunate it is to even get a shot at doing what can seem from the outside like obscure or self-indulgent or academic work that is intended for an audience that you can't quite believe is ever going to materialize. And I want to say that that gratitude feels particularly acute right now at this time of the writer's strike. And so I want to just take this opportunity to express our solidarity with our friends at the Guild right now. I know this is the end of the night, and I promise I won't go on like I usually do. But I will just say, in terms of our appreciation for this, this started with Mike and I talking about the origins of something really weird, which is American Holocaust denial. Holocaust denial is a lot of things, a lot of very consequential things, but one of the things it is, from a rational perspective, is just odd, particularly when you realize that it started so soon after the worldwide revelations of the horrors of the Holocaust, and at a time when there were so many thousands of even Americans and American refugees who had witnessed it firsthand. And that is a weird story. In researching the American, particular personality-driven, strategic origins of Holocaust denial, we stumbled into this other story of Americans who sided with the perpetrators of the Holocaust. And this project ended up being a story about those bad guys, but mostly a story about Americans fighting fascism, about their success at that a little bit, but mostly it's about their failures, repeated failures, followed by getting back up again and trying something else, and then failing at that too, and then once again getting back up and trying something else. It is the story of Americans who went before us, who were smarter than us and funnier than us and more ironic than us and more strategic than us and braver than us, who showed incredible resilience in the face of serious threat, resilience and resourcefulness. And they did it because their country needed them to be resilient and resourceful. And so we are in an era, again, of sedition charges in the courts with all the complexity and trouble that entails. We are in an era, again, of anti-Semitic and racist mass violence that is committed not just to kill and wound, it's committed with the intent to terrorize and to destabilize us as a multiracial democracy. We are in an era, again, of swashbuckling, death-defying, anti-fascist activism that needs more support than it gets. We are in an era of fearless, envelope-pushing, controversial, out-of-bounds journalism. That's the best hope for all of us. It's the story today of all of those people doing all of that work and regularly failing, and nevertheless persisting and getting back up and trying something again, because once again, our country needs us to be both resilient and resourceful. The forces of violence and extremism and ultra-right authoritarianism, that's where the ultra came from. These are not new forces in our country. They're not done with us yet in this generation. I will just say that your decision at the Hillman Foundation to recognize and reward deep, true, difficult storytelling by the great journalists and authors like our fellow awardees today. These awards that you give make journalism and truth-telling and therefore democracy more resilient. The Hillman Prizes are not just an award, they are a mitzvah, they are service to this country. So thank you for this prize existing, and thank you for honoring us with it.